Now we're going to look at the science. The science behind this is, let's start off with a metaphor. What's going on in the brain? And I always like to give you this because I've read a lot of self-help books. Some of them are just wishful thinking because they're written by people who have no idea. But there's been a revolution in neuroscience, so we kind of know exactly how our interactions with the world are affecting our brains and our minds. So it's very important. So we're going to look at the mind as a computer. Not a perfect analogy, but we're going to use it, all right? So emotions are like the power switch. Like if you don't have emotions, there's no energy behind what you're going to do. No physical energy. It really is a dynamic switch in your brain that lets you go, move towards, move away. That's why we saw those Latin words named after that, because it was describing what neuroscientists now know as a function of the brain. Move towards, move away. Use your energy this way, not that way. The computer monitor. So the emotional system is a feedback system that tells you what's going on in your body, in your environment, and how you should respond to it. Now, a lot of times it's autonomically triggered, means like your subconscious brain just figures out the situation and in a microsecond tells you where to go. Now, that system is very good for getting you out of the way of buses and cars and tragic things in the environment. But in our more knowledge-based social world, we have to kind of question that. But it is telling us something. It is always giving us information. So we need to be able to read the monitor well. And then the emotions are the programs we run. Now, what do we mean by that? That's the neurotransmitters, the hormones, the electrical signals that run in your body. You sense those as emotions. Your body gives you feedback and you go, oh, that feels like fear. That feels like excitement. And you have to be able to read the difference of those two. And we have this knowing within us as to what the emotional situation is. And so it's the programs we run. So you're sensing the chemicals that are flooding your body. Might be adrenaline. It might be something like GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that is calming. And it might be an excitatory neurotransmitter. And your body isn't saying, we're running on a neurotransmitter that's going to be excitatory now. You just feel it. Your whole system gives you a sense of where you're going. So that's the picture. That's the metaphor of what emotions are doing within our systems, which is quite powerful. Now, there's this little place right behind your forehead that's called the ventral lateral prefrontal cortex. So all that means is this kind of core place right behind your forehead here is the core place where emotions from your subcortical systems, which is your limbic or emotional brain, communicates with your more rational brain to sort of sort things out and going, oh, this is what this means. Oh, I get what's going on. So it's that communication between these two. So this is the focuser. So if we can get a control of the focuser, you can get control and manage and navigate your emotional landscape. Without this, you don't have focus and it becomes chaos. And you can't decide, you can't know, you can't make a direction. In fact, Antonio Damasio, who's a famous neuroscientist, had a patient called Elliot. And Elliot lost control of that area, the VLPLC, as we like to call it, the emotional connector. He lost control of that. And what happened to him? He wasn't able to make decisions at all. Why? Because he didn't have any more values. He didn't know, is it better for me to do this? Is it better for me to do that? He didn't know. He couldn't decide to get up in the morning. He couldn't decide what to eat. It nullified his existence as a human being. It was tragic. He had all of his rational facilities in place. He could do his engineering. He could do all his calculating. He could think through problems, but he couldn't decide what to do. He was paralyzed as a human being. So that shows us that it's not a rational brain that guides us through the world. It's this emotional brain. That's the one that's guiding our energy and our decision making. So it's critically powerful that every leader do this, or else you're not going to guide decision making. You're going to be a slave to other forces, other people who are more powerful at doing this emotional thing. So it plays a pivotal role in what you're doing in the emotional world. So studies have shown that 1/3 of managers can't do this, and 1/5 of opportunities, all opportunities, are missed because managers can't do this well. They're managing and not leading. To be a leader, you have to be a virtuoso of the emotional science. So, Goldman's research. Daniel Goleman is sort of the father of emotional intelligence. And he says you have superior decision-making skills, skills in interpersonal relationships that you wouldn't have if you don't master the skills that we're going to be talking about in the emotional science realm. So this is a critical area, and I just want you to know that the major thinkers out there are agreeing here. They're saying, hey, pay attention to this. This is big business here for you. This is business for life. This is a tool for you doing life, both in the workplace and outside of the workplace. These skills will apply to your life outside of the workplace and in the workplace. So they're critical skills that you don't get taught in business school, and you don't get taught in most schools unless you're a psychologist and things like that. So that's why it's so important. That's why I drive home the scientific ideas behind this, so that you'll be able to grab onto this and go, hey, let's dive deep into this and take a hold of this.